which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, chair remarks for our October 10th reunion. I would like to recognize the passing of 2 Turtle Tigers. Ada Temple passed this past July, but I just realized it when I was reading the Friday's Villager. She was a former Board of Ed member. I didn't realize that. But she served this town for years and years and years, and I knew her very well. She was a member of the RTC, she was Registrar of Voters, and served on many, many committees and in the town hall itself. And Miss Hope Sally, Ada graduated in 1946 from Turtle Lot, yeah. And Miss Hope Sally, it didn't mention when she graduated, but Tom knew very well.
It might have been, it was 6. I would have been about 58, 57.
It was somewhere in that
vicinity. She was 6 years older than, younger than Jim.
She passed away at the end of September, so we've lost another 2 Tigers. Anyway, I would like now to take a moment of silence to remember these 2 Tigers. Also today was a very exciting day. It was my privilege to welcome everyone to a tour of our new Culinary Arts Center. It was very exciting to see a commercial kitchen. I mean, fantastic kitchen. Don't think I'd like one in my own home. I'd be expected to cook. I mean, really cook. My idea is throwing something in the air fryer and microwave. But, and then having a tour of all the other career pathways. And that was very exciting to see that we have so many. I mean, we're focusing on the culinary arts and the welding, but there's the business and I didn't realize we had a construction one going too, and there's just so many arts and the digital, the recording, correct? Yeah, just so many. The fire is now coming back in January, so that's going to be very exciting. And this was a really fascinating day. My husband was with me, and it was just a great day. He was very, very impressed. So he'll bring that back to the Board of Finance members, and hopefully that'll help. We really need to get that word out. And Winnie was here, and some TV station was here, and we some muckety mucks and the assistant. Deputy Commissioner of Education was here, so we can drag the governor east of Hartford. That would be nice. But anyway,
he did invite him, but I'm sure he's busy.
Yeah, right. Well, Connecticut does extend beyond Hartford. People need to remember this. Anyway, so it was a very exciting day for Turtle Lot Memorial High School. And we got to eat some of the food. Okay. At this time, I'll entertain some citizens' comments. So if anybody in the audience now has some citizens' comments, please state your name and address. Hearing none. Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Quiet night. Student spotlight.
There's no student spotlight.
Oh, no student spotlight? Okay, well then your liaison report.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm one of the Board of Ed liaisons. The TMHS events for the month October is all month there's the Turtle Lots Got Talent practice after school. October 3rd, we had our first student council meeting. October 6th, the high school students received their Q1 progress reports. And there was a TSLT in-service from 7:25 to 10:30 in the library. October 9th, there was no school. October 10th, 8 to 2 o'clock. NEASC, Professional Development Day for teachers, and 9:30 to 1:30, Culinary Kitchen Ribbon Cutting and Pathway Showcase. October 11th is the PSATs for grade 11. October 12th, Ms. Willette, Ms. Spinelli, and Ms. Tupai present Team HS Pride Day at the CT State Department of Education's Performance Matters Conference. October 18th, TMHS Pride Day and Faculty Meeting. October 19th, TMHS Open House 5:30 to 7 p.m., beginning in the District Auditorium, Fall Sports Photos, and the Fall Sports Photos. October 20th, Class of 2024 Haunted Trail Fundraiser. October 24th, Modern Music Hospice Performance, and October 26th, Upperclassmen College Info Night.
Here are the student voice forms. Three separate students wrote about the allocation of class time in the new block scheduled classes. Student council members expressed concern that their classes are not seeing a variety of activities as they were expected to see in the block scheduled classes. Students report that classes often consisted of extended lecture lessons, leaving students with significant amounts of work to be completed at home. Students also reported feeling high levels of stress related to the schedule workloads that they had due to the loss of study halls and no work time built into class periods. Other students expressed feeling frustrated with the difficulty of balancing rigorous courses, employment, and extracurricular activities in their schedule that is frequently encouraged by the school. Students are concerned by the lack of independent work time that could lead to diminishing involvement with after-school activities. Students are concerned about meeting the capstone requirements without the time carved out in class for support, and Dr. Mayo acknowledged that teachers were trained in the spring to develop a block schedule format that included review and independent work time. He will revisit the training with the faculty at the 10-4 faculty meeting. He also asked the students to have patience and would ask the students at the November student council meeting if they were noticing an increase in independent work time. Another student wrote in a concern about the new phone policy. They expressed their opinion that students should be encouraged to use their devices responsibly in order to prepare them for college and future employment. One student was concerned about missing emergency or work-related phone calls. Another student was concerned they would not be able to use their phone to place events and due dates into their schedule. And Dr. Mayo explained that he observed many students abusing their phones last year. He's also talked to other principals in the area and felt that this new phone policy is similar to what other schools are doing, and students will continue to watch the phone policy to see how it works. And the last student voice form was written in proposing that Tiger Pals earn community service hours for their work. Musalit explained that since Tiger Pals are entered to earn credit during the school day, it cannot count as community service hours. However, if students were interested in earning community service hours after school, Ms. Willette would look into expanding Tiger Pals into after-school hours. Questions? Yes.
I think it's great that the students have opinions on all these things, and it sounds like they're legitimate concerns, and it sounds like they're also being legitimately addressed. So, good for everybody.
Anyone else? Very good. Anyone else have any comments to make? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're now excused to come and do your homework.
Don't use any devices. Put your phone down.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the approval of our September meeting minutes, our regular meeting minutes of September 11th. I'll entertain a motion.
Kathleen, I'll make the motion to approve the September 11th meeting minutes.
I'll second. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, I'll put the motion to approve the minutes from our September 11th regular meeting to the floor for a vote. All in favor of accepting the minutes, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposition, say no. Any abstentions?
I'd like to abstain, I was not here.
Well, you could still approve, but, okay, then the minutes pass with one abstention and one, who is it? Oh, 7 yeses and 1 abstention. I can do that. I'll enroll myself in the two. Okay. Subcommittee update, the communications subcommittee?
Yep, we had our kickoff kind of to the school year subcommittee meeting on Monday, September 25th. It was productive as it usually is. We talked about some of our ongoing initiatives, the Did You Know post campaign that happens on the school Facebook page, continuing with the middle school and high school weekly sports schedule, discussing some opportunities with the incentive program that we piloted last year, focusing potentially on attendance as being the primary driver that we're going to try to get the kids more involved in that. Talked about how the board can assist in promoting any of the Pride Day things that the school is doing. And also talked about the leadership roundtable that we had done last year, and seemed as though that is something that we'll probably pursue again this year as well, likely in March. New business was just kind of brainstorming some different ways that we could kind of enhance our participation in the school system through the subcommittee, and that was potentially looking for ways to do fundraisers, potentially for the funding some of the sports through the banners, potentially like advertising banners that might happen through all 3 seasons of sports. Wanting to promote senior night for fall sports and when that was going to be. Brainstorming some morale boosting activities for staff. And then we talked about the staff climate survey and to try to kick off that kind of initiative throughout the school. And that was kind of it. Thank you.
Just,
All right,
Kathleen.
now turn.
Just as a
Yes.
just one item on the sports schedules, if we could make sure that we're also including the unified arts or unified sports schedules, because those have been missing, and I know that there's been some concern that those aren't being included as well.
Okay.
We should be highlighting those too.
Yes, we should, you're absolutely correct. Okay. All right, and at this point then, I will turn it over to Superintendent Smith for the enrollment report.
As you know, October 1st is when we report to the state for our first pull of our enrollment. And so on that October 1st date, we reported 381 students at Mary R. Fisher, 270 students at Thompson Middle School, and 215 students at Turtle Rock Memorial High School. We've increased the overall enrollment from last month from 865 to 867. So, and those numbers are fairly stable. I don't know, I'm looking at the principals, have we been getting any more new enrollments since then? You did? Okay. No, Larry, and high school? No. So they're starting to level out. And then again, for some reason, around January, we start to see some fluctuation again. So.
It's after Christmas, people move. Rain. In and out, okay. You want to discuss the kindergarten start date?
Just want to bring it to the board's attention that the state in their wisdom has decided that their new kindergarten start date starting for the next school year will be September 1st. So students need to be by September 1st or they cannot enter kindergarten. However, at the same time, the state said, well, a parent could request a waiver on that policy. Previously, students had to be 5 by December 31st or January 1st. I've lived through this in Rhode Island as a building principal, when you put that type of waiver out, that kicks in a discussion with the staff around, okay, if a parent submitted a written waiver, then what is the criteria that we're going to go against? Is there going to be an assessment process that the district is going to implement? In one district, they're just letting everybody in with that writes a waiver. They're just going to let everybody in. So really, technically, that school district really isn't changing their policy, right? But I have a meeting with the preschool teachers and the kindergarten teachers either later this week to have that very discussion. Certainly there are some students that we want to bring in early, right? Because they're so far behind or so developmentally delayed that we want to put those interventions in place early on. But in other cases, are we going to put together a criteria of assessments? The state is supposed to give us guidance, but they're not going to dictate what assessments we use. Talking to the area superintendents, there's a meeting, I think, at EastCon for that same discussion. I need to find out from our teachers, what's their perspective, and if we did do an assessment, what type of information would they like to get before we grant admission? And then that is probably going to have to be a bigger discussion with the Board of Ed. I just wanted you to know we are addressing it and we're looking at that, but I haven't had a chance to talk to the preschool and the kindergarten teachers to get their feelings on it. And so I think it's important to go back to the very people that are going to be working with those children and bring that information back. But I can tell you that the summer that I was building principal and Rhode Island made that change, that entire summer, all we did was test students, and the expense to the district was immense because we had to bring in the teachers and the people doing the testing over the summertime and pay them. So, we really got to decide what's best for us, our community. I think first going to the teachers is good, and then maybe getting some feedback from parents, finding out, whether or not they would want to hold their child back.
So this is a September 1st, a birthday of September 1st.
Or before.
So,
Have to be 5.
right. So speaking as a parent of a child born on September 3rd, I personally can't imagine Natalie
Waiting another year.
waiting another year.
Yeah.
And if we had lived in Massachusetts, just over the border, she would have had to wait another year. And to me, at the time, for us, it sounded preposterous, just based on a couple of days. Obviously, the difference between September and like January or whatever, but so I don't know what the flexibility is and the waiver and all that. So that's me speaking as a parent of a September 3rd.
And I agree with you on that end, because there are some students that are really ready, and then there's students that are not ready, but we should be addressing some of those delays, right? So I think talking to the teachers and then finding out what other districts are doing, bring that back to the board and let the board make a decision on that.
What was the catalyst for that decision? What
So
propagated all that?
developmentally, if you look at the standards that we're teaching right now, developmentally, students should be a bit older to handle some of the expectations that we're asking of these young children at this time. And so holding them back gives them the edge. And for students that have gotten good support systems at home and can do that, and don't have any other developmental disabilities, that's a great thing, right? And it might put them on even keel, but then on the other hand, we think about those students that are really ready to come in. And so we should give them an avenue for them to come in.
So I'm a little bit confused about it, because the last 5 or 6 years, the push was on for all pre-K and get the kids in school early so we can teach them early. And then by the time they hit kindergarten, they're gonna be fine. And it doesn't seem like that's working.
So some districts are exploring and this is what I want to talk to the teachers about, should we be opening up another preschool classroom? Will our enrollment drop to the point where we can use an existing kindergarten teacher to be a preschool teacher? Like, we don't know. We want to have those discussions with the teachers, and then come up with some type of a plan for our district based on some feedback in the area, and maybe some guidance from the state, and then bring it back to the board and let the board make a decision. That's kind of where we're at with that, but I wanted to give you a heads
Thank
up.
you.
We weren't ignoring it. It's just that, everything is so new, but you have to put it in place by July 1.
So I just wanna make a suggestion. You might wanna there are probably people that thinking their kids, like you, right, are going to start school in kindergarten next year because of the dates we've had in the past. So maybe you might wanna start advertising on your website that, hey, there's a new rule out that kids that are having a birthday after September 1st are not gonna be able to be enrolled.
There is a letter that came from the state that we can send to families, so I'll
Trust me,
get
a
that
lot
out.
of them are
But I
well
wanted
aware.
to talk to you all first.
Yeah, Kathleen, the only thing I want to
There's
say
been a
is
lot of
many
chatter in the
parents will
community
fill
about
out
it
the
already.
waiver because if they can get their child in a year before, they do not have to pay for babysitters when they work. So you will be inundated with
Right.
waivers.
Exactly.
So if there's 73 children currently in kindergarten, one per month, so it might be as many as a 12th of that conceivably. I don't know the statistics of births.
Yeah.
But
So my experience that year was that we had very low numbers in kindergarten for that first initial year. And then the next year I had to add a kindergarten teacher because there were too many kids in
Sure.
kindergarten. It
yeah,
just,
yeah.
there's no easy way to drop it in.
Yeah, but that's like a 1-year blip.
Correct.
I'll be anxious
Thank you,
to see
Melinda.
what the study brings back.
Yeah.
what everything is.
You might want to entertain, I'm not saying this out loud, because it's a surprise, but you might want to move D up and then do C.
Okay, all right. Now, Melinda has suggested that we move D before C.
I'll make the motion.
So we'll do the National Merit Scholarship Program, letter of commendation first, and then we'll do the multi-language letters.
So Dr. Mayo,
So,
you're on.
I'm on, all right. Excellent. So, I've been in education for 24 years, and I've never had a student get a letter of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Program. You have to be basically top 300,000 in the United States to get this. So these scores on the PSAT are some of the highest in the United States. So I've had students going to Ivy and all these other schools, and I've never had anyone get this award. This is the first time I've ever had. The envelope came in. I thought, to be honest with you, it's probably junk. They send me junk all the time. I opened up and I said, "Oh my God, what is this?" So I've actually never seen this before. So I read through it pretty thoroughly. So I'd like to bring up Eric Levig. He got the letter of commendation. I left a frame on the table with my badge and my keys. But yeah, excellent young man, highest in his class right now, and also serves as president of leadership and a number of other things.
Bring him back up for a better picture.
He is, come on.
And has gotten a score of 5 on
On every AP test he has. He's got perfect on every AP.
His mom and dad are here, could we?
Yes.
Come on, Mom and Dad.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Come on, your turn.
Okay, would you mind just turning me? Thank you.
And this has to go in the school newspaper, and maybe.
This is
so
very
Eric,
Congratulations,
to the villager. I mean, this is something to be
So, Eric,
proud of.
a question from a board
Great
member.
PR piece for the villager.
How excited were you when you got that?
I just found out about 30 seconds ago.
secret.
You kept it a secret.
That was kind of great. Felt good.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That is a monumental accomplishment.
In what?
Now go home and do your homework.
He's actually tutoring college kids right now, being paid for it.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Super.
That's awesome.
And know that this young man advanced a grade early, and achieved all of that. So he is certainly, we are just very proud of you, Eric.
Do we know if Thompson's ever had any national merit
Not since
cell?
I've been here.
Tom?
Let me something.
Tom,
I
20
don't know.
years.
For you?
Come on, you're on the board 20.
I didn't.
20 years on the board, have you
That
heard?
is
In
amazing.
my 17 years of being on the Board of Ed, I have never heard of one. So I
That
don't
is
know,
such a-
Bill,
I don't know, I'll ask my sister and Merrill, because that would bring us another 24 years
Yeah.
to find out.
What's your next plan, Eric, after you're done at Turtle Lot? Where are we going?
Depends on who gives me the most money.
That's a smart answer, yeah.
Well, that's
what do you
level
think
headed.
for a career path?
Where are you applying?
Accountant?
So I'll apply Harvard and Yale.
Yes.
And UConn, if I get Val, they cover tuition.
Yes.
For 4 years, I think.
Terrific.
And then there's like Eastern, Nichols, the closer business, Bryant.
So you're-
Full range of schools.
Yeah, that's great.
Very good, very good.
Congratulations.
Your opportunities are abound. You're gonna do well. Thank you for that. That's
Portrait of a
fantastic.
graduate.
Terrific. That is wonderful.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good job, Mom and Dad.
Yes, great
Okay, now we're ready for our multi-language learners presentation from Heather Brunel.
I'm going to introduce you to Heather Bruno. If you recall during budget time,
Yes.
we added a half-time position. We're going to have a little conversation about that later, but I thought it would be a good idea for Heather to come and give us a little background on multi-language learners. Please?
This one should stand.
Wherever you want.
Yeah, whatever you want, Heather.
Something's happening. Oh, Bryce has it.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you for having me. Superintendent Smith asked that I come to you tonight and present a little bit about the ESL program in our district. Before I begin, I just wanted to give a little background about myself as an educator. I have a bachelor's degree in early childhood education and a master's degree in teaching English as a second language. I was a classroom teacher for 9 years in preschool, first, second, and sixth grade. And this is my 5th year as a district-wide ESL teacher where I provide services for students from preschool all the way up to 12th grade. Last year, I worked at Mary Fisher 2 days a week and I had 10 students on my caseload. At the end of the school year, I was asked to come back 3 days a week for this year when we realized that the caseload would be growing this school year. Once the school year began, it became clear to me that I was not going to be able to meet the needs of the caseload that was presented to me with a part-time schedule. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this process, there is a statewide system for determining who is eligible for ESL services. When students come to our district and register for preschool and for kindergarten, or when students move in from out of state, their parents are required to fill out a home language survey. And on that questionnaire, it gives us information about the language that the students were first exposed to and the language that's used most frequently in the home. It also asks parents if they require communication sent home in their native language, and it offers them translation services at school events and at parent-teacher conferences. If a student indicates that a language besides English is spoken in the home, then we conduct a language assessment provided to us by the state. This tool is an assessment that screens the student's language proficiency in the 4 domains of language: speaking, listening, reading, and writing. The assessment gives us a numerical score from 1 to 5, and the Department of Ed provides guidelines for how many minutes of ESL instruction these students are entitled to according to their proficiency level. Does anyone have questions up to that part? Okay. So let me introduce you to some of the cutie pies that I get to work with every day. At Mary R. Fisher, we have 13 English language learners, and they speak 6 languages other than English. We start every day together in the ESL classroom at 8:30 for a multi-age language-based morning meeting. During this time, we practice the social emotional languages, language, body language, conversational skills, and basically the soft skills required when you learn a new language. Morning meeting goes until 9 o'clock. And it's my favorite part of the day because it creates a sense of community for these students, and their culture and their language and their diversity is discussed frequently and it's celebrated. Morning meeting ends at 9 o'clock. The students return to their classrooms, and throughout the day, I work with students in small groups according to their grade level and their language needs. It may surprise some of you to see so much diversity in our tiny little school district, but this is a trend that we're seeing in all schools across the state of Connecticut. This graph shows that from 2015 to 2020, the number of ELL students has increased 24% in the public schools, which is a lot. In our preschool class this year alone, 10 of our 39 students are Portuguese, Haitian, Hispanic, African American, and Puerto Rican. That's 25% of the preschool class who is non-white. It's becoming increasingly clear that our need for a strong ESL program is present. This chart shows the 16 English language learners in our district, their proficiency level, the instructional hours that the Department of Ed recommends, and the time that I will work with them each week. With only a part-time schedule, there are 4 students on this list who I don't have time to meet with at all, and a handful of students whose instructional hours don't meet the minimum requirements. It also doesn't allow opportunity for me to work with the classroom teachers and to provide any supports for them either. A full-time ESL teacher position will allow me to meet the required hours that these ELs deserve, to work with the teachers in a collaborative manner, and to provide the professional development that our faculty desperately needs in this area. In conclusion, the Department of Ed reminds us that providing English language instruction for these students is our legal responsibility as a district, and it's protected by the U.S. Office of Civil Rights. Does anyone have questions about the students in our district or the ESL program at all?
I have a question. Not knowing anything about how to, so if somebody what languages do you speak?
I speak only English, but I'm awesome at it.
Okay. So how do you teach somebody, or how do you integrate somebody who speaks something like, say, Arabic, especially with the alphabet being so different? How does that work? In a nutshell, I suppose.
Sure. So the first thing we start with is sort of, if you move to a new country, survival skills, right? So learning the teacher's name, and then communication skills like making eye contact, how to approach the teacher, what I give like the words that they actually need to say in order to get their needs met. There's a lot of that in the preschool and kindergarten level. And then it's, making a friend who they can use to cue them throughout the day. And when we do pull out instruction, a lot of it is, I do a lot of work through read alouds. I do a lot of work with basic stuff that you would teach toddlers, really, like parts of the body.
Yeah.
When your teacher says, get in line, what does that actually look like? What do you do with your body? When your teacher says, go to your cubby and put your coat on, we're going outside, what does that look like? What does it require? What is expected?
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Do you also use like picture dictionary of scenes? Like an airport, a grocery store?
So with the upper grades, like we just learned, we did a whole unit about the flag and what the flag means in our country, and then we talked about all the students' flags and what it means in their countries. And then we read a little book about where you see the flag in your community, and it's like, you see the flag at the post office, you see the flag at the bank, you see the flag at the hospital, you see the flag here. And then for each of those locations, then I teach them all the vocabulary. So for hospital, it's like one topic can turn into 50 topics. So for hospital, then we learn doctor and nurse and stethoscope and Band-Aid and cut and vaccine and syringe and needle and all those things.
Because visual is a key thing, right?
Right.
So how many of the 13 are preschoolers? So two, okay. And then most
possibly a third.
Most are in elementary. Yeah, so I'm just like gauging, I guess, the trend.
There's 13 at the elementary school, 2 at the middle school, and 1 at the high school.
Okay, so you actually have 16 then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what did we end last year with? Was it
10.
10?
Yes.
And so the 6 additional students, depending on what level of service they need, is
Right.
really what's happening with Heather's time.
The 2 preschoolers are both level 1. They understand almost nothing of what's going on in their classroom.
And I'm not surprised, because even if you check the news, like Massachusetts is in a little bit of a crisis themselves, because they have a lot of,
Look at Sutton, they just had 100 families come into Sutton.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's coming
so-
from the big cities are all converging now because they don't wanna live in the big cities, they wanna come to the smaller town. I think I said that a couple meetings ago, that, you know, when we were doing budget, that's one of the things I've read a lot about, is the fact that growth in the smaller communities is going to really start changing the dynamics of education because of the need for the ESL program for these kids, that it's required, we're supposed to do it.
Just to be clear, that 100 families in Sutton, because I have a friend who's on the board of ed there, they didn't move there.
Oh, I
They
know,
were dropped
I
there.
know.
So,
Well, whether they're dropped there or whatever, they still
No,
need the
I-
services.
yeah,
I know,
But that, they were definitely dropped there, as are the Cape Cod ones and the whole thing, so. It's just, they're gonna need the services, and we're gonna have to have the budgets to supply those services because they're
Yeah.
required.
this would be great to present, I think, to the Board of Finance as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Good point to know.
two questions. Do you use any kind of like iTranslate or anything?
I do not.
Do we have any older students that are proficient in some of these languages, that there's kind of a peer mentorship program? Do we?
Not that I know of, but I'm very effective at working with these.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it might also be a comfort level for them if they know that there's an older student within the school system that knows their language, you know, I'm just, you know, I don't know.
It's hard to identify students at the high school because we've just started giving this home language survey to
Yeah.
parents when their students register. We should have been doing it for a long, long time. So there are kids who are in the upper grades that we don't have a method of identifying them. So,
I mean, I'm sure there's, again, this is probably just me off base, but I would imagine there's more Spanish speaking versus Arabic, you know, older generations of Arabic.
probably.
I'm
Are
just
we
saying.
able to also refer the parents themselves to any agencies within our area for them to learn? I mean, that would be a, you know, a mutual type of benefit for
Yeah,
both of them.
I'm not sure. I don't know anything about the services.
Does EastCon do anything?
I wonder if, does
Where they
it,
teach the adult, you know, these are children learning English, but their parents don't know English, so how do we get the parents to,
would that be East
Get the
Coast, or who would
benefit.
that be?
and that's what I said, does
Well,
EastCon do
there's
something
adult
like?
ed,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there is an ESL component to that adult ed. I don't know what's in the region, and quite honestly, up until my first few years here, we had one,
Yeah.
maybe 2 students, and they weren't at a level 1, they came in with some English, and then all of a sudden, over the past year now, we've seen that we've grown to like 60. One year, we reported 0, I can remember. So now, all of a sudden, with not only ESL, but then homeless students, those numbers have started to increase since we've come back from the pandemic.
So I think it's shameful and irresponsible and short-sighted that we don't have a full-time person. However, as Melinda just said, we went from 1 to 16 very quickly. And so, but it's something that needs to be presented and addressed by the people that hold our purse strings. And
Well, we have to address it tonight, because last year we had 10, which was manageable as part-time.
Sort of.
But now we're at
It's okay to say no.
The
So we
tricky
need
thing
to,
this
and it's
year
on
is
the
that I'm,
agenda
like,
for
commuting
tonight to
all three
address
schools,
this.
you know.
And I don't know if you want me to talk about it now or wait till we get to that point on the
We'll
agenda.
need to get to it that point, because that's
Okay.
under new business, and we need to vote on it, obviously. And we'll need to find the funds and go back to the people who hold the purse strings and tell them we had to do this because.
What's the
I had to even look up a couple of the languages.
and there's legal ramifications as well.
Right.
What's the shortfall fund-wise right now for the program? To be
Uh,
adequate
So it's going to be about another $41,000 to bring Heather up to full-time. I know we were gonna discuss it later on the agenda, but we did receive more Title I funding this year, to the tune of about $32,000 in addition. So I did a Hail Mary before I submitted the Title I grant and added at least 32,000 of that amount into Title I. I don't know if it's an allowable expense, but it is literacy based. So I put it there, I'm doing this, and hoping that it comes back approved. If so, then the liability to the Board of Ed budget is significantly less. But nonetheless, I think Heather presented a good case for why we're at a point where we do have to service these children, and it is federally mandated, right? So
we're talking-
it's like special ed.
Yeah.
We're talking about the funds later.
Tonight.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, new business.
How does Governor Lamont's English Learners Bill of Rights come into play? Is that part of this, and is there funding attached to it?
There's no funding for us.
Another mandate, no funding.
But I
It's a state.
we've never been part of the consortium for Title III. We kind of did away with that because we were only getting a couple of $100 and we only had a few students to service. However, this year I did apply to be in the consortium. If you get an allocation of less than $10,000, then you have to join a consortium. EastCon is the fiscal agent for that consortium. Most of the money goes off to Marianapolis, but Marianapolis doesn't take the funding.
Right, they give it back to you.
Right, so I at least threw my hat in the ring because Heather spoke about it. She needs to also work with the classroom teachers to learn how to support the students when she's not there. And so to provide that professional development. So we'll see what happens with all of that, whether or not Marianapolis accepts those funds, if we're able to tap into those funds, which then it's about $7,700 if we could tap into those funds just for PD and additional supplies and materials that Heather could use working with the students, especially the one student up at the high school. So now she's district-wide.
It'd be interesting to see what the other surrounding districts have relative to a program like this, and if they have a full-time or part-time teacher.
Putnam has two full-time.
Two full-times?
Yeah, I have a client who's one of them. Well, I'm excited to see Thompson growing culturally.
Yes.
It was a very cultural town to start, so I'm excited to see it.
It was.
Yeah.
But they didn't have ESL teachers.
No.
Got thrown
But I'm
in
sure
by
the parents wish
immersion.
they did.
And they have their own villages.
Yeah. But,
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
okay, administrative reports. I'm gonna start with the on-site administrators and then we'll move to the Zoom. Okay, so Dr. Mayo?
So three quick things. First thing, you heard most of my things for liaison for tomorrow's PSAT Spirit Heaven. First time ever that they're doing it electronically, so this should be fun. So this goes. And then Thursday, just kind of reading what they said, Trish, Deb, and Cindy are going to go present in front of the state. And as presented at Pride Days, which I think is a feather in their cap and a feather in the town's cap. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with that. And then the last thing I would say is just about today, and I know, Steve went over everything, and I was there too. And I just thought it was a really nice event, but I thought it was really nice because you should have seen all the kids that were there, and volunteered their time, and how proud they are of their school. It's something we've been talking a lot about my 3 years here, to have kids from every one of those areas that Ms. Heber mentioned, on one of those shops coming in to talk about those shops, those opportunities, because they were so excited about it. To have all the kids in their chef outfits today working on the food, to have the kids in the CMA outfit talking about CMA, to have the kids sitting there singing and talking about how they want to go into music. And I just thought it was really nice from the standpoint of, I was very proud of our students and the pride that they showed in their school. I just thought it was something to mention. Thank you.
How many students are in one of these career pathways?
So right now,
Out of
in
200
culinary, we have 78 in culinary. Construction trade, we're a little bit lower, we're probably around 14, 13. Manufacturing, it's tough to tell because we're splitting manufacturing off to welding. We have a high number of welding, as weird as that's gonna sound. And one of the things we didn't go today though is we brought scuba in. So we have an agreement with EB. So when our kids get welding certified, they'll be scuba certified too, and they'll have jobs waiting for them. So then they graduate, they're pretty high paying jobs.
Very high paying
They'll have dual certification.
Yeah.
So we have a good amount in that welding program right now. I think we're actually capped at that welding program right now. Business is always huge. Trish does a great job. A lot of kids, Eric is in that program. We have, music is growing because we just turned that into kind of a pathway. And I know Kate's done a lot of excellent work with that. So I'm seeing more and more kids kind of float in there and want to go out that way and go on to be music teachers or music therapy, which I know they talked about today. CNA is turning into its own thing. We, superintendent had originally talked about having, I think, 12, 13 at the cabinet, 14. We have a group of juniors right now that want to get into it next year. They're really trying to sign up for it, so we're excited about that. One of the new things we're bringing in is fire science with Jamie Sine, who's been a great partner for us over the last couple of years. So we're excited to get him back in. That's going to be going. So I think that as we're going, and then visual design, which is Bianca Prouty, she does an amazing job. And actually, we just set up, we changed the room around, and we had some desktops that were donated to us high level and donated for graphic design. So I think you're starting to see them fill up, and now that the kids are finding stuff, as actually said earlier, that you're seeing them want to come to school for that purpose. And then now we're like tricking them into good job. But we're seeing the attendance is slowly getting better because of these programs. And if you could ever seen, I walked into the culinary area to make sure they were good to go. And Chef Zencraft said, okay, I said, we're good to go. He said, we're good to go. And they turned around and said, oh, no, we're not. Top button. And every kid almost like militaristically went, boop, boop, boop. They're all top of the button. And they go, Chef. And everyone to one point goes, Chef, we're good. Okay, we're good. He said, we turned around and went. I was like, oh my God, what is this? So it was something to see. And I think that those programs, our kids are going to get a lot more of those programs than just what those programs are. So I'm really excited. Yeah.
My daughter's in the CNA program, she loves it. Loves it.
And speaking of a parent of an Ellis Tech student, shop day, I think it's 10 days and 10 days. Shop week is, go get them, and school is tolerated. But then you have to make sure we keep the kids on track with their academics. And
so we drop those shops in the middle.
Yeah.
You gotta come for English.
Yeah.
You can't go to that.
Yep.
The energy was fantastic.
Yeah, I wish I could have been there.
It was electric. The kids, talking with the kids, they loved that program, culinary especially. But they had a lot of pride too.
Absolutely.
It was when they put their food out and presented it, and the way they presented themselves, it was a very nice thing to be part of and watch.
And that's the thing with a shop in particular, culinary or welding, something where I did this, I made this today. And not to say anything against the CNA, I mean, I built this. This is what I did. And it's an amazing thing. It's an instant gratification that comes from hard work along that path. And it's great.
To the CNA point, I know I went in there and talked to them because one of the statements that was made in the leadership was about how much work they got at night. And I heard on the backside that CNA had a lot of work, and I went into those kids and said, how are you doing for work? And they told me they had probably about 45 minutes when they went to homework at night. And I said, oh God, and they said, oh, no, we're good.
My daughter has no problem doing that homework.
No. You like homework?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we're getting a lot out of this, it's great or whatever, so I backed up immediately.
Yeah, my daughter reminds me frequently that in January she'll be making $18 an hour. That's what she just tells me.
At least she has a goal.
Yeah.
And when you have a goal, and when your work has definite meaning, it has a definite meaning, it's easier to bear that workload because you have that direct result as opposed to geometry, which it might be a tougher slog. So
she's 16 and money hungry.
Use this again in my life.
Well, isn't it a goal of all of us, even as parents, that we want to train them that do something you love, be passionate about the things that you really like, and it'll come to where it doesn't seem like it's a job. Because the worst thing is if you absolutely hate waking up every day and going to a job that you don't like, it has no meaning. And so I think it's a great thing. I love it.
Absolutely.
And Melinda, kudos to you too. I know you never really take that, but this was great decision.
Yes,
And
all of it.
Bill Birch, where's Bill?
Bill Birch.
Bill Birch.
Yes.
Yeah, totally
That
impressed,
thing
totally,
is so
totally
cool.
impressed.
And then his crew.
And the young woman, my husband came home and said to me that the young woman that led our group around, I don't know what her name was, he was totally impressed with her enthusiasm and the way she led the tour. She was one of the music students.
Liz Davis.
Yeah.
Liz Davis.
And he was totally impressed with her. She's also the president of the Diversity Club. And so if you see her, tell her that she really led a great tour.
That young lady has come a long way.
Yeah.
She really has, so, yeah.
Anyway, okay,
Yes,
so Ms. Granado.
I'm gonna follow that.
Bake us cookies?
Mic drop.
So what has your middle school done, huh?
They
Yeah.
always have a lot going on, you know, so, but I just wanna say as someone who was there today to witness everything, it was so awesome to see some of the kids that I had when I first participated and how mature they were, and I was wow, it was wow today. Kudos to the district, because it was a great day for this district.
It was.
And it was so awesome to have the Board of Education here to witness everything. I just thought that was awesome. Anyway, now on to the middle school. So we are having a coat drive that is really important to us here in the community. Teague is asking anyone to donate their coats, that would be lovely. Also, I want to highlight our PTO. Working tirelessly to get our boostergram going and try to get kids to participate. Just had a meeting with PTO, and they are doing so many great fundraisers to benefit our kids. So to all the parents listening out there, please sponsor for boostergram, which is this Friday actually, coming up. It's already the 13th. And we have a big campus thing going on October 18th, so hopefully you guys can help us spread the word for that too. It is Unity Day. Everyone on the campus is going to wear orange, and it represents, supporting unity on campus, anti-bullying. So just reminder of that. And I am with Dr. Mayo with PSATs tomorrow. New platform, live. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Right, you're coming in early, right?
He's sleeping here.
That's it for us at the middle school.
Thank you. Mr. Prentice.
How are you? PTO is raffling off Patriots tickets on October 14th, 2023 as part of another fundraiser. They are working really, really hard.
$5 a ticket, come find me.
Community Day was held on October 1st. Great job to the new music teacher, Mrs. George. She did a wonderful job. And good job to those students in Fort Dezer for a really nice performance. And hats off to Heather Bruno. She does a great job. I can't imagine, I've been in the district well over 20 years. I do recall students not knowing the language at all and being just, dropped into a classroom. I can't imagine without any support. So she's just doing a great job connecting with these kids. So hats off to her. Welcome to Laura Jeffrey. We have a new kindergarten teacher. We still have one of those openings, but Laura Jeffrey is our new K teacher. We had a back to school assembly on Friday. I'm going to call him out. Bryce Pratt just does so much work for the district, and once again made the show seamless. So thanks to Bryce. PD Day today. Teachers did a variety of different activities. And November 8th and 9th are parent-teacher conferences. That's all I have.
Dr. Jones?
Okay, as Superintendent Smith stated, we have 867 students currently. Of the 867 students, 191 are currently being served
service under special education. We've had 16 referrals thus far, which brings the total to 207. 72 students with 504s, so the total percentage is 23.87% of students with an IEP. Our total out-of-district placement is 21. Bradley School, Wyndham County is at a total of 23. Of that 23, 8 of those are Thompson students. We're still partnering with 8 other neighboring districts. And then, at the last board report, I had emphasized that we were currently utilizing 4 vehicles. That is no longer 4, it is now 6. It's 5, but it'll soon to be 6. Tom, stop. It's currently 5, soon to be 6. So those 6 are what we utilize for these 6 other placements to get the students there. The other 8 are here in the Bradley program. And again, we're going to keep working at that. We have set up a safety care training. It's a full training for our new staff and anyone that's interested in being trained if their certification has expired or they just did not go through the training. Those dates are October 14th and October 28th from 8 to 2 here in the Media Center. Those are 2 Saturdays. And that is by Mrs. Haley Plazaka, the social worker at the high school. She's our trainer. Dr. Mayo and myself are working on a reduction of out-of-school suspensions at the high school. We've seen a bit of an uptick, some students violating the discipline policy, and that's mostly due to the cell phone, some vaping, and also some bullying. A lot of investigations have happened early on, so hopefully that will calm down a bit. And then lastly, open positions. We currently have 2 in special education, and that's the life skills position at the high school. And then as Mr. Prentice was alluding to, the dual certified K position at Marriott Fisher.
That's a question. So the suspensions. Yeah, both of you, whoever. I mean, obviously, it's an interruption to the learning environment, right? At any point in time. And I guess try to keep this as confidential as possible.
Sure.
I'm assuming that there's repeat offenders.
Yes.
How do we isolate the repeat offenders and, 1, make it uncomfortable for the parents to play the parent role and to understand that it's disrupting what we're trying to do as a Board of Education, which is promote education, a safe learning environment, as well as we're trying to increase test scores. And we're all critiqued on test scores, all of us.
Yes.
But the learning environment is being interrupted by a small group. So, and again, I'm not looking for an answer, but if there is something that we can do as a board, whether they, repeat offenders after so many have to come before the board, whatever it is, something has to stop. And it's all part of what I said months ago. We've got to take back our schools somehow, Does that make sense?
So I love the fact if they could come before the board, I think that's a great thing to implement. However, depending on whatever the offense is, so let's take, for example, the cell phone.
Yeah.
Okay. So according to the discipline policy by the big guy here, right? So the first one is a detention.
Yeah.
You do it again the second time, it's kind of moving to a suspension. I think we need to be a little bit creative with that. It's probably cringing, but maybe a second discipline, a second detention, or a longer detention, because we have to reduce the out-of-school suspensions. That has to happen, right? I can see it, right? But even with that, so that's just the cell phone stuff. We've seen them kind of find ways around that. They are savvy enough to go buy a track phone. You know, I mean, the track phone is going in the sleeve, but the real phone is still on their person, right? You know, they are savvy.
For them, for having discretionary funds, awesome.
So then, but then even with that, you know, I think the bigger issue is just the bullying, the way that law has changed. There is no wiggle room for it, it cannot be tolerated. As parents ourselves, we take that very, very seriously. And when we're doing the investigation, we're very, very thorough. We review it multiple times. It goes through an attorney. I mean, it's tight. Okay, so we have the backing, but it takes a long time to go through it. There's multiple players that are involved, and it kind of just takes on a life of its own. But again, even with that, we're just trying to be mindful on ways to hand out the discipline, but also be mindful with the State Department of Ed with all of the out-of-school suspensions, that's all. We just have to be careful.
So I think, well, to Dr. Jones' point, I feel like I'm being your translator, but just to kind of go into what he said was, the first one is, as written in the code of conduct, is an hour-long detention. And when you call a parent, you tell them they have this detention, it's like, okay, oh, whatever. Okay. And when you realize they can't have it in the day, you go, I call the parent, right? You realize they can't have it out, you realize the policy, you realize, oh, yeah. Then I call them and say, hey, and I said everything in the email, as per my last email, as per my last phone call, they already had one, now they're staying home with you for a day. Now it's like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, now I need you to buy it. So then generally what's happened, to be honest with you, is we have not, with the exception of 2 people that I know, we have not had a third offender. There's not been a third offense. Having said that, for the third offender, this is when we bring in Ms. Walker, who's our student behavior coordinator, who puts together a contract, she calls the parent, she takes the phone in the morning, it gets dropped off in the main office, they don't get it for the day, they don't get it for the lunchroom, or whatever. So that's really what the natural progression is, but is a lot, when you call and you tell a parent they have an hour detention, it's like they couldn't get off the phone fast enough. Okay, it's fine, that's it. When I call and tell a parent, hey, the behavior has to stop, this is, now we're at the second step, and they're like, wait, your kid's gonna go home? Yeah, they're gonna go home. We already went through the first step, I need you on board after the first step, and you weren't on board after the first step, to be completely honest with you. So hopefully now you're on board with this step. And that's where that comes from. Now, having said that, obviously there were some people testing it early on, but knock on wood, I don't think I've sent one kid home in the last 2 weeks. So
I understand, in this day and age, everyone has a phone. I get it. I understand that, speed, emergency, people call their kids, whatever, I get it. But there was an emergency when we were all here, and I hate saying when we were all here. They picked up the phone, they called the main office went and got the student then left the building. If there's an emergency, you call the school. So I don't buy the whole emergency thing. And this is not you guys, you know what I mean? I'm on your side with this.
It's phone addiction.
It's phone addiction.
It is, and listen, welcome to the real world. When you go to your work, your work's gonna see you on the phone multiple times. Guess what? Adios, see you later, hit the road, Jack.
To your point, we had 2 alumni that got fired this summer because they couldn't put their cell phone.
There you go.
Both places called me to let me know that I had a alumni who they had, what's your cell phone for all the rest of this? So then I talked to the other principals, we talked, to be honest with you, I wanted, if we had money, I would've got those electronic bags and made them go in the electronic bags, and they wouldn't be able to get them until the end of the day. I know the kids don't like when I say that. But that's what I would've done.
Right, I understand everyone's got an attorney and now it's gonna be an invasion of privacy and whatever else. It's such a litigious society, however.
But we're seeing less and less of it out in the classes, obviously, and the staff knows they never ever confront a student. So the student can say, well, I left it at home, I left it in my locker, I left it wherever, that's fine, as long as they don't see it out. It should be in the pocket. But if they see it out, then that's really a twofold. It's you broke the cell phone policy and you lied to a teacher.
Yeah, I guess
that's what the issue is.
The biggest one, obviously, that I wanna make sure, and I don't know how we do this as a board, but to show the support, is the bullying aspect. We've all run, on a campaign of a safe learning environment, not only for the students, but for the staff as well, which comes back to respect to you as, highly educated professors, doctorates, you name it. So what can we do to assist? Maybe we do a workshop on that, the two, administration and us, and we come to some agreement. Because there should not be continual repeat offenders. I'm sorry, but that's where it becomes the parent to come here and sit in
Well,
front of us.
I'm thinking that might be the
Honest to
offense,
God.
they gotta come and talk to the board.
Where it starts.
So maybe that should be one of our subgroups or subcommittees, just as a recommendation. Thank you.
I had one Saturday detention in my lifetime, and it was the worst Saturday of my life,
That's
so
all it
I'm
took.
just saying,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a thing anymore, I don't know if it's legal or not, but that was terrible.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a budgetary thing, and I'm gonna tell you that even detention after school isn't always in compliance. I know Kim can tell you that parents will say, well, my kid's not staying.
Yeah.
And then what do we do?
Right.
Right?
That's
So.
why you
you
let
can't
the
hold
parent
them.
come to us, honestly, at that point, because there's no respect for administration. That's a whole nother avenue.
And then there's a legal thing that we have to worry about, right? Because the board's charge is not discipline, right? Is not that. So how do we,
But we
It's something
can enforce policy,
Correct.
and that is
So that
part
would
of
be
the
an
policy.
adjustment of policy
It
then.
might be some guidance from Steve Sador as well.
Yeah, maybe.
You know, to how do we support the administration that's implementing our policies.
And I'm sure tomorrow we will have plenty of time to ask that question.
Very true.
Hey, that's right.
Stay
So-
tuned.
Remember that. Remember that, yeah. Okay, now moving on, Mr. Stiglitz, how are our finances?
Sorry.
Did you find the lost money?
What you got?
Buried in
Where's
the,
our
buried in the
hidden
old
stash?
high
Where's our pot of gold?
This month and with an update from June 30th as well as our first look at 2024. The update for June 30th, unfortunately, there's a little bit of bad news there. And then I think I had reported last month that we were in the black by approximately $50,000. As you know, those numbers are preliminary, and these numbers still remain preliminary. Unfortunately, that has swung to a deficit position of about $63,000.
Record scratch.
But I would like to say that if you compare that to where we were last year at this time, we were at about $240,000 in the red. So to the extent that you can consider that improvement, I guess that's some good news. This was driven primarily by some accounting work that we were doing and making sure that expenses were properly classified in the right year. So we had some 2023 expenses specifically in the payroll arena that had been charged to 2024. So as part of going through the year-end process and checking our cutoff, that was caught and was corrected. This is something that obviously you want to do prior to the audit. So I'm glad that the team did make that discovery when we did. Unfortunately, it reflects a little bit negatively in the numbers, but that's the way it goes.
Bill, one question. So that is not a misuse, not misuse, wrong word. It's not a overspend, it's more of an accounting practice.
Well, no, we're overspent. There's no doubt about it.
So it's not a timing issue, the way that
No.
things get posted?
It was, at any cutoff period in an accounting cycle.
Yep.
Cutoff is making sure things are in the right period is something that takes quite a bit of scrutiny.
Right.
Eileen works diligently to make sure that our regular expenses, if you will, land in the appropriate period. This particular item, most of what drove this was, there are several flavors of payroll at the very end of the year. Teachers get paid over a different schedule, administrators get paid over a different schedule. And one of those flavors landed in the wrong bucket, landed in 2024 when it should have landed in 2023. But like I said, it was, now, would I have liked to have caught it earlier? Absolutely. But we caught it prior to the audit, and we caught it as part of our close process. So in that regard, it's good. Unfortunately, we could have a bill come in tomorrow that relates to 2023. Melinda has relayed numerous stories to me over the years where, an $80,000 bill shows up 3 months after the end of the year for a student that was somewhere else. And for whatever reason, that district didn't bill in a timely manner.
that's still a 2020, in this example, would be a 2023 expense. So there's some of that going on, and unfortunately, that's where we're at. Once again, this isn't final, believe me, I'm looking and hoping maybe we find something that's help us swing the other
Swing
way.
it the other way.
The further we get, that's increasingly unlikely, but that's where we stand for 2023. Nobody but me will be excited about this, but we closed the books tonight in Munis, and the thing that's really great about that is it puts us on track to meet our second big audit milestone, which is to get the trial balances to King and King tomorrow. As you know, they finished their interim early and on time at the end of June, and they're right on track to come in at the end of October. So we're resuming what I would consider a healthier timing on when the audit actually happens. So that was some good news. Looking at 2024, there's a lot better news here. It's really great to see. We've got a revised budget of $20,600,000. Our year-to-date spend is just over $4 million, which is a full 2% below where we were last year at this time. So that's pretty encouraging to see.
4 buses compared to 6.
I'm about to. I was trying to build up some excitement there. I'm pleased to report, and it's still early, but I'm very pleased to report that we have no departments in deficit.
Yeah, that bill?
Yay! It's only more at the current time.
The books aren't closed yet.
And I would add that if you were to look at our report from last year, that wasn't the case. Even at this point last year, we were already projecting 2 departments, I believe, that will remain nameless, that were in a deficit position at this point last year. So there's a little bit of silver lining and some good news there. In conclusion, I'd like to say that I never eat zucchini, ever. And today at the culinary program, I had a zucchini muffin, and it was fantastic. So if those guys can make zucchini, they can sell zucchini to this guy, they're on the right track.
Either that or our budget's gonna really go.
And I support that message, right?
That's awesome.
Bill, so that hypothetical $60,000, which is 0.03% of our budget, what happens if that is in fact a real number? What happens?
So actually, and I thank you for reminding me of this. Dave Johnson from the Board of Finance had actually asked if I could start sharing the Board of Ed presentations with them. So what I'll be doing is including these sheets in my presentation to them every month.
It's a nice step.
Yeah.
It's a start.
Yep. So that'll be going to them. They are aware. I mean, they ask questions all the time, so they typically know where we stand anyway.
Yep.
Right now, and once again, everything's still preliminary, but we are fortunate enough that on the town side of things, we, especially because of the savings from the mild winter, the town is actually pretty solidly in the black, which last time I looked would more than make up for this. So in total, the combined entity remains below budget for 2023. But it's something I'll be discussing with the auditors to make sure it's clear. I know there's obviously a desire for us to be in the black, but my primary mission is to make sure that the numbers that the finance team reports are accurate, whether they be red or black. Believe me, I want them to be black. But either way, we'll be talking to the auditors and to the Board of Finance and making sure they're handling it appropriately.
Thank you.
Which means that our request to put money in the non-lapsing account was a little premature. So
Then we do need to notify them that you will be notified.
Yep. Maybe next week.
I just have a comment or question rather about the audit. Is there a way we can put the results in a tab if somebody goes on the Town of Thompson website?
Yep.
That it just pops right up, right, like where our year-end audit for town and school or whatnot, so
Um,
as a
I think
suggestion.
I think when it's finalized, we
Yeah.
could add it to the front page. It
Yeah.
is posted, like if you were to
Right.
go on the finance
Right,
page for the
right.
town,
Right,
all the audited financials are posted. I
right,
make sure as soon as we get them from the auditors that they're up there.
Yeah.
If, you know, basically for transparency reasons.
Right.
As soon as we have them, the citizens should have them.
I just think we need to get that information
Front forward.
out there.
Yeah.
We're not hiding money,
Yeah.
there's no,
Right,
yeah.
here's the audit,
Yeah.
There it is.
here it is.
Third party.
And the fact that we're a combined budget now, it's important that the fact that the total budget comes out on track. I mean, yes, the school loses money, but we lose money. There are
It's
reasons.
not a money
for it.
Well, there's
making entity.
variable
Not
expenses.
losing money, what we're
But
spending.
if the total budget comes out in the black or hits its target, then the town is whole. And we tried, we put the brakes on spending at the school last September,
Yeah,
which is like totally early. We knew we had a tough road to hoe last year. So it's through no fault of our own. We tried, you know, we were diligent about watching those pennies last year.
and I don't wanna be Debbie Downer about FY '24, but just a reminder that we have open positions, so that might be reflected in.
Right, exactly, and we need to fill those positions. But we do have a head start of a little bit of a cushion of not having filled those positions, but not much, it's only a month into the year.
Well, based on some of the people I've had to hire at higher steps, that might all just wash itself out.
That could be, that could be true also. Okay, so moving on, Mr. Birch.
So I know everybody has said what an exciting day this has been today, but I just want to add one thing. We got our first truckload of oil this afternoon. So on that note, Bill and myself and Amy have been shopping for electricity because our electricity contract is up December 1st. And we also have been starting to watch oil prices for next year, which is FY '24, because oil is starting to drop right now. Demand is low and supply is high, so oil is down now. I've been watching it for the last week, it's been going down day by day. So we are looking at that. We are looking at a few things moving forward for next year, the welding program, if we have to do some space changes for that, trying to get those things together. The superintendent and I took our first spin around the HVAC grant. Looks like there are some changes to the application process. We've got a question into the state that we're waiting on an answer for, and we may have to make some modifications, get the selectmen to change the resolutions a little bit so the wording is correct. But it looks like it's gonna be doable, it's not gonna be too big of a problem. The other two projects are ready to go out to bid within the next couple of weeks, the track project and security project, those should both be going out. And again, Mr. Steglitz and I are working on closing out the roof project, so hopefully we can get that reimbursement dollars back.
Yes.
So as we increase the welding program, if we had to add more welders or anything, do we have enough electrical amperage and the right circuitry, or would we have to do some electrical work?
Yeah, we haven't seen that that's gonna be a problem. We do have to look at whether or not we're gonna have to change the scope of the HVAC project to support that program based on what we put in that space.
Oh, good point. Point.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Zoom, our Zoom audience, and ask Ms. Marinaro. You there, Michelle?
I'm here. I'm coming on right now.
Great, thank you.
Hi. sorry I couldn't be there this evening. I do want to take a moment just to say that the culinary arts program this morning did an absolutely amazing job from someone who graduated from a vocational school from culinary arts. I was super excited to see the progress that the program has made, and I'm super excited to see how this year comes out for them. So Dr. Mayo, Chef Zentcraft, you guys did amazing today. I just have a couple quick things. As Dr. Jones had stated, we do have 2 open positions. We do have the kindergarten with special ed certification, and we do have the high school life skills. I have been combing through websites looking for candidates and doing cold emails to see if I can get a bite on that. I am looking at going out to a couple other career fairs in late fall, early winter to see if we can drum up any support for these positions, as well as other positions that could come open as of next year. I do want to say that we did hire 5 new employees since our last Board of Ed meeting. We welcomed a Tortolot alumni, Nicole Tilton, to our high school counselor position, a brand new kindergarten teacher, Laura Jeffrey, a brand new paraprofessional who is starting this week. Her name is Melissa McGrory. And then we do have the middle school music teacher, Nicholas Rule. He is starting next week, as well as the grant-funded elementary school counselor, Miranda Burmeister. She is also starting next week. So we have some amazing talent that is starting with the school in the next couple weeks. I am working on my first goal for the 2023-2024 school year to become self-independent with our fingerprinting process.
That'll be extremely helpful if we're able to.
Yes.
Is that part of like Corey backgrounds and all that, or what is that?
So
go ahead, Melinda.
No, go for it, Michelle. You deal with it every day.
So right now we use the EastCon program, where we would send our employees part of their hiring process out to be fingerprinted. The fingerprints go to the FBI to make sure that there is nothing in their background that would prevent them from working with us in a school system. It is a tedious process having them travel to EastCon. The enrollment fees that we do pay for that, each individual has to pay as well. So we are looking for a cost savings and a better way of doing it for our school system and our employees.
So do you have to be certified for that, Michelle?
I took some testing through the EastCon when I originally started, and I just have to go back through every year and re-up certification, but Melinda works with me on that stuff.
Be certified for everything. Troop D used to do the fingerprinting. What happened? They don't do that anymore?
We can't accept that. We have to go through the program that that EastCon offers. We can't accept just going to the state police.
Isn't that an oxymoron? Like you can't accept the police who do fingerprints constantly? I'm telling you, whoever makes a state rule, well, we know who they are, never mind.
We know that Plainfield does their own, and so that's why Michelle's looking into, is that effective? Sometimes the lag time before that we actually even get the results back, or the person can get an appointment, takes a while. So if we can speed that up.
Is it because Plainfield has their own police and they do it? Because I know Putnam does their fingerprinting there as well.
How screwed up is that? You can't trust the state police doing the fingerprints?
And I'm not sure they have the capacity to handle it.
No, I know, but what, then they wonder why our state is so screwed up. Can't accept state police fingerprints.
You know what just happened with the state police? They changed their top brass, so.
No, I understand that.
Tell you
but-
something.
But it's ridiculous.
I got fingerprinted to get a blasting storage license. Not that, well, because I own the company, stores dynamite stuff.
I didn't know you knew how to do that.
I don't.
Well, if anybody that needs dynamite, they know what we're doing today.
I'm going to Catholics.
I do a lot of things. All right.
She's also the woman that attended Woodstock.
Shannon, do you have Ms. Brower? Or do you have anything else, Michelle? I'm sorry. All right, Shannon, do you have anything to say about the state of the health of this school?
You know, we're right at the start of sixth season, so I just want to remind everybody if they're sick to stay home. That was pre-COVID, you know, if you have any kind of GI symptoms, you should be home for 24 hours. Fever of 100.5 or over, you should be home for 24 hours until the fever.
In the hospital.
101.
100.5.
Oh,
105. I did too.
I'm sorry, maybe I didn't speak clear enough. And then we had our faculty flu vaccine clinic today.
Oh.
And we're going to, NDDH is going to be coming on October 25th to do one for the kids in the evening. And that's all I have to report.
Okay, thank you. And I understand you're gonna do Deb Spinelli's?
Oh, I am gonna do Deb Spinelli. So, on the agenda actually, and you'll see it later on, but Deb, wants to talk to the board about, a wrestling co-op with Putnam. Currently, we have two students that are interested in wrestling at Putnam, and they're willing to take on our students. The only cost to that and will be for 2 uniforms that say Turlock. And then ice hockey for 3 girls are interested in the Woodstock Academy Co-op. In that case, the parents would have to pay a fee of $750 for their child to participate in that co-op. So it'll obviously limit, there are 3 students interested. So at the end of the agenda tonight, she's asking for your permission to join those co-ops.
Okay, all right. Okay, that concludes that. Any old business that we need to review? Is it on the agenda? We talked about? No? Okay, then we will move on.
Kathleen, can we get, just because with the discussion of the bullying that's occurring and regarding to the suspensions, can we get an updated, bullying report?
Well, we
next
usually
month?
do them at the end of every quarter, so
Okay.
November.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, well, then it's coming, never mind.
Yep. Yeah,
So
we'll
at the
do
end
it
of
in
September,
November.
we'll have one, okay. It's coming up soon. Okay, then the next thing we have is the BOE meeting dates. Linda, did you check the dates?
Yes, I did. Even though
I'm
I
sure
won't
you
be
did.
Sitting here, I did.
And they're fine?
Fine.
Okay. Then, what do I do with it? They're here, I know they're here. I know. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so if everyone is happy with these dates, I will entertain a motion to accept them.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the meeting dates as proposed.
We know they're good because Linda checked them.
Just seconded.
Just seconded. Okay. Any discussion? No? Okay, hearing none. I will put forward for a vote to accept the proposed 2024 Board of Education meeting dates for approval. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition say no. Okay, motion is accepted unanimously. Total of 8. One absentee. Okay, the next item up is the multi-language learners position increase. Can I have a motion to put that forward?
Is it a motion for discussion or a motion to?
A motion, well, you need a motion on the floor to discuss.
Okay, so motion to discuss.
Increase
the
that to full-time position.
Yeah, I make the motion to have a conversation about the increase to the position of the multi-language learners.
I'll second it.
Okay, now, the motion is on the floor to increase the multi-language or English as a second language position to a full-time position. Now, is there discussion on this?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to repeat what I said while the teacher was here. I mean, it's a legal requirement. It's shameful that we don't have full-time, well, it's not shameful, I mean, due to how quickly it went up, we were just kind of caught with our pants down. But it's legal and necessary, and the kids need it and deserve it, and it seems kind of like obviously, I would say no-brainer, but money is always the root of these things, but it's a necessity.
It's an unbudgeted expense at this point.
Yes.
But also required.
Yes, perhaps the good people at the state would kind of fund these mandates. That would be fantastic.
It would be.
Right behind the special education.
They just hand out Band-Aids with no money attached to
Well,
them.
we can blame the federal.
Well, them too. They're easy to blame too,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well,
So-
they hand out
But,
Band-Aids.
so yes, I am in favor of doing this.
You know, these poor children, back in our day, they were dropped into immersion, total immersion.
better or worse.
And they did make it, but I have a very good dear friend who was 11 years old when she came here, knowing no English at all. And made her way, obviously, but it was very difficult. And I can't imagine, just can't imagine. Yes.
You said you applied for, what was it, Title I to see if you get the 32, when will you know?
Well, they usually approve it within the next few weeks. And there was extra money given to the district this year. So at the 11th hour, I thought, well, let's try that. And so I'm hoping that it's an allowable expense, which will take most of that increase.
So we have the money, but we just have to get them to approve it.
Correct.
Use it.
For that, okay.
And if they don't, then we need the 41,000.
So can we use it as special ed money? Can we use special ed money for this?
He's like, no.
He's on budget, he's on target, leave him alone.
Come on.
Well, excuse me.
He just went to six, he just went to 6 vehicles, got him a break.
But we have, Bill is looking into, I asked him to throw that question out to the other CFOs and the other districts to see where they place their ELL money, and wondered if it went under special ed.
So, two things, Putnam has 2 full-time ELLs, right? Do we know how many students they have there for that, for the 2?
I don't, but I imagine 16 on a caseload district-wide is doable. I saw Heather's schedule.
Yep.
So I'm gonna say if another 10 students move in, then we'll have a whole other discussion.
All right, so I guess my whole thing with this is 41,000 would cover what we need today.
Correct.
How do we look at this and adequately fund it? Because we know it's only gonna go up, it's not gonna decrease. I don't see it decreasing with what's going on
Yeah.
in the other towns.
We just need to have Board of Finance in on this. I mean, obviously, we're gonna do our vote tonight, but we need to let them know.
Right,
This
but-
is a new position that we had to fund full-time. This is gonna be added to the budget every year.
Right, but are there tools that need to be part of this program that we don't have today that we need? So
Right, curriculum
not just
support and-
41,000, is
Right.
it truly 55 or 60?
Any
other support stuff.
Right.
Now, if we're gonna pull the
materials.
Band-Aid off, we gotta make sure we have the right picture with this whole thing, so that's all.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I figured. I calculated the rest of her salary, and she would go full-time benefits. We only gave her half of the benefits. So.
But is there any technology that needs to be purchased to assist to make it,
I think she has the adequate resources. That's why I tapped into that other Title III grant for professional development and supplies. So I'm hoping that we can use some of that money for things like that. Those are allowable expenses under Title III, but salary is not.
So we're gonna go to the Board of Finance to ask for 41,000 and
Not
let them know
necessarily.
we could get 32,000?
At this time, I don't know under what category it can be put in the budget, but it's a federal mandate, so it's not like something we can ignore.
No, I know, it has to be done.
Right,
I don't
so
think
then
we're
what
asking.
line item are we freezing to pay for it?
What item
Yeah,
are we
yeah,
using?
is that what we're
Right,
gonna do?
that's, I think, the crux of,
There
Yeah,
isn't
if we're not gonna
anything.
go to the Board of Finance, then what are we gonna do?
Well,
If we have the
I
32,000.
think we wait to find out about the 32,000.
Yeah, right. If we have-
The issue needs to be addressed tonight.
right,
Right, I
Of
think
the
we maybe
full time.
table this, because if we have the
No.
32,000, then we don't need, we can scrounge out.
I disagree. I think we need to address it tonight. And the money, where the money comes from is irrelevant tonight.
it's not.
It's irrelevant tonight because the issue needs to be addressed. And what we need to ask for next month, we can ask for next month. It's not gonna,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
it's not
Yes.
gonna
Okay.
bankrupt us in November,
Right,
you know, so,
You're right.
yeah, that's, I think,
we will need, I think what we need to do
or
in,
Linda.
at the next Board of Finance meeting is to inform them
Right.
that we have done this.
right.
Right,
And
And
it might be
it could.
9,000, it might be 32,000.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Make sure you show the support documentation that she showed. I thought Danielle had a great idea about that. Make sure they see the physical support documentation with the graph and
So,
that type of thing.
just one other question on this. Is this sort of like special ed where we are, no, but where we're on the hook for like the first 80% and then 20% is
We're
written?
on the hook for all of it.
This is 100% us?
It's not that kind of special
She's a new
ed.
employee.
I like special ed better.
No,
At least we
not
get
that
some
special ed.
reimbursement. You're welcome. I have all the confidence in the world you're back to 4 next month.
But that,
Vroom,
I'm hoping Bill gets that question answered.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that's your mission,
Poor
Bill, to
Chris.
get it answered before the Board of Finance.
He's not listening to us down there, but Bill, we do need to know about
Putting
what
pressure
other
on it.
districts are doing with the ELL and expenditures and that kind of thing.
It's been, I'm not comfortable saying about, I have a final answer yet, it's been mixed. Many of them landed in special ed.
How
But
does
jury's
it,
still out.
and this is, how does it end up there? Just because it is
I think it's because it's a requirement.
But is it because it's a learning
services.
disability?
It's not.
Right, that's why I'm saying it shouldn't. Right.
So,
Should not.
but let me just intervene, and I know Dr. Jones is not gonna like this statement, however, he is the director of pupil services, and that is a pupil service. So,
It's not a special education, it's a pupil service.
Change the title.
Yeah, no.
Ryan, can we vote on that?
It'll be interesting to see as this gains traction in more towns, what ends up really happening in the future.
And all we have to do is call over to the, the other side of the state, who's been dealing with, an influx of non-English speaking students for many, many years. It's just hitting us now, and actually it hit Putnam first, right?
Yeah.
So now it's coming. Even Heather said when she bought her house here in town that she was looking for a job, and they said, good luck, we don't have any ESL students here. And lo and behold, now we do, so.
Wow.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. Discussion? Had discussion? I'm going to call for a vote on the motion. All in favor of increasing the multi-language learners position to full-time, say yes.
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 Yes. Anyone in opposition, say no. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We will inform the Board of Finance at their next meeting, the third Thursday of this month. No, of October, yeah, of October. I don't even know what month I'm in. Anyway, we will inform them that we had to do this due to federal requirements because of the number of students that we have. They must be serviced properly. And we have level 5, we'll give them a little song and dance.
You should just make a presentation with
Bring that, or
Yeah.
Or a
perhaps
piece
have the
of it,
teachers
a piece of it, not the whole thing, a little dog and pony show. To use corporate, you know,
Yeah,
parlance.
I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item C, BOE committee approval.
That's the agreement with the BOE. Is this annually, Danielle, or it's every few years that we have
Yeah.
to pump this?
Yeah, because we had someone come one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always,
That was a while
okay,
ago. That was like 3
Kaiser's
years
gonna
ago.
be on there.
Before
Here.
COVID, you were
Yeah.
here, yeah.
Yep.
And we complained because we.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
All
we're
right.
appointing,
Well. Don't know
I think they make the
anybody, no
suggestion, we
Kaiser
vote
well,
if we
so-
want them.
Okay. Oh, owner of Blackmore Farms,
yeah,
okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly, but I mean, you can't go wrong.
I know
He's
Blackmore
good
Guys,
people.
yeah.
My question is were they consulted on if they have the time to do it?
I
would
believe so,
imagine.
yes.
It wasn't a secret nomination.
Who knows?
I motion that we accept this as presented.
I believe Kai is Turtle Rock grad as well, right?
No, she went to the
BOE.
They go all right.
I mean, no better person to represent.
Yeah, they both agricultural in our town, so absolutely.
Well, they both got a copy of this letter, so I think if they didn't want it, they would have let somebody know.
Yep.
Right.
No, I didn't see the
No.
one, I had looked.
Okay, so I would motion that we accept this as presented.
Okay,
I'll second.
you'll second it, okay?
Val.
So we
Val
have,
got it. She seconded it before.
Val seconded it,
Yep.
okay, all right, so we have a motion and a second, any discussion?
I can't think of anybody better to represent the town of Thompson in this regard.
Okay, hearing no discussion, I'll put the motion to put Kai's and Mr. Kelly on the, it's a 3-year appointment to the BOAG committee for the Killingley Regional Agricultural. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition, say no. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Earlier today, we had a meeting and where Superintendent Smith shared her goals for FY '24.
I'll make a motion that we accept the superintendent's FY '24 goals as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? We did agree that she would share her progress quarterly. So at the end of December, we will receive a report that she has done in the past with all her goals, so, okay? Any other discussions? No? All right, then hearing no more discussion, I will put the motion to accept Superintendent Smith FY '24 goals to the floor for approval. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? No, then that motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank
A
you.
wrestling co-op with Putnam. Wanna go over explanation again.
So we have two students that are interested in wrestling, and Deb Spinelli reached out to Putnam. They have a wrestling team. They have spaces on their wrestling team to accept our students. The cost would be for some a minor cost associated with maybe some of the officials, just to chip in a little bit, and then to buy 2 uniforms, the tights that they wear wrestling.
Singlets.
What do they call it?
Singlets,
Singlets.
not tights.
If Deb were here, she'd correct me. But she wants to have those with a Turtle Lot logo. So.
I'll entertain a motion to accept entrance into the wrestling co-op with Putnam.
I'll second.
I'll make that motion.
You make the motion.
I'll second.
And you'll second it, okay,
And I have a question.
yes.
Is there an insurance cost to the town?
So they're covered under our blanket policy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We've already went through that because we co-op with football and we did gymnastic co-op a few
Okay.
years ago,
Thank
so
you.
yes.
My question is, who's responsible for transportation?
That was my question.
Yep.
So I think Deb has figured it out with the busing, and I think she's gonna have the parents transport in some cases.
Okay, parents mainly and some busing, okay. We're already doing it for gymnastics.
We did it for football and gymnastics.
Do we know if
When is
there are
wrestling season?
other
Usually winter.
that would be interested going forward?
As far as sports?
Like for wrestling, like do we know if there are maybe underclassmen that may be interested in going, partaking next year?
We don't know that yet,
Okay.
yeah.
This is.
And I guess it depends on their enrollment on their side,
Right.
so.
What grades are these students?
Do
The
we
two
know?
students?
Those are high school,
But are they sophomores or,
I don't know,
you don't know?
I don't know the details on
No.
that.
Okay.
The only
I was just
concern would be
curious.
starting a program and then we either lose it because of non-interest or we get too much interest, but we can't continue forward because we might not have the right numbers, but then we can't co-op with Putnam because they have too many. That would be my only,
That's the risk we take with
Right.
any of these things. I
Okay,
mean,
so
remember baseball last year, so,
Yeah.
so.
And the thing is to support these kids, because a
Right.
lot of them, for
This
that,
is the
maybe
what-
those
what
two
gets them
wrestlers,
up.
there's something that, is driving them, and also, sports, I think, is a good thing for kids. It's keeping them active, it's keeping them busy, so.
No objection on that.
Yeah. It's like everything in life, you never know what's gonna come next, so.
It's a nice way to expand our offerings too, so that if they are interested, at least we have an avenue for those students.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have a motion. I'll put it to, for at least this year, join the wrestling co-op with Putnam. I'll put that to the floor for a vote. All those in favor of joining Putnam's co-oping with Putnam for wrestling for these two students as for now, say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposition? No? Abstention? Okay, it passes unanimously. The ice hockey co-op with Woodstock Academy.
So in this case, they will be playing for Woodstock Academy. They are interested in ice hockey. It's a girls' team. Parents would be responsible for all equipment, and parents will be responsible for the fee of $750 each student.
Transportation.
So they wear Woodstock Academy out a uniform, is that it?
They're part of that team.
So
She
do
did
we
not
pay
talk
the
about
insurance on
buying
that?
separate jerseys or any of that, so.
I don't think
So,
they could have a
Why do
separate
we
jersey.
even have to give permission? I mean, it's not even related to Turtle Rock. This is an after-school.
But they're considering it
still
like a
enrolled as
co-op,
Turtle.
so.
Yeah, the Turtle Out students.
Right.
Are they leaving school early or?
I don't believe so.
So the question, I guess, I'll make a motion that we
Yeah,
discuss
please,
this.
let's do this right.
I'll
Take a motion.
second it.
Okay, now we have the discussion.
Okay,
So this is like an extracurricular activity for them.
Right, but it's a sport, and the kids should get recognized for participating in it in a high school sport as, so I heard Dr. May over there mention something about scholarships. Let's say these three young women are stupendous hockey players and they end up with getting a scholarship because they've participated. And then you say, hey, yes, I'm from Thompson, I played for Woodside, I'm from Thompson. But again, transportation and insurance, is anything on our shoulders? I don't think so, no.
No, that would be all on parents, making sure they got there. And
Yep, hockey's a very demanding sport in terms of time, very demanding, and money.
Deb said to say that there are 3 students interested, but she honestly believes it'll probably be 1 student that actually pursues it all the way through.
Yeah, it's time and money and
Correct.
transportation, and, you know, I think Woodstock's pretty decent at hockey, so you have to make the team too, I think.
I would imagine.
Yeah, so if it's a competitive team, it's not like, no offense to our program, I mean, it's not like we beg people to sign up for baseball and just take whoever. I mean, if it's a competitive team, you've got to try out, so. So great, let them do it.
More power to them if they
great,
want to do it. I mean,
exactly.
it's a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know.
Maybe it's more of an endorsement.
And it's a girls' team, which is yay,
fantastic,
you know?
absolutely.
All right, all those if there's no more discussion, all those in favor of allowing these girls to go co-op with Woodstock Academy on their ice hockey team? Say aye.
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 Yes.
All right, anyone opposed, say no. The abstentions? Okay, passes unanimous. I have not received any correspondence, has anybody else? No? Okay. Citizens' comments, I open the floor again to citizens' comments. Anybody from Zoom? Quiet evening. All right, then I will entertain
Motion made to adjourn.